Okay, let's work through the solutions of our practice test A that we took in class. Okay, and hopefully if you're working on practice test B, then this will help you if you get stuck on any of the questions. All right, so the first one I've kind of already worked out here, but let's talk it through. So our 33 is positive and our 14 is negative. And when we're adding positive and negative, we can think about it as plus and minus, or we can think about it as hot and cold, but every positive and negative go one for one, cancel each other out and make zero. So remember, when in doubt, line it out or dot it out. In this case, I don't want to make dots, there's too many, so I'm going to line it out or draw it out. So my plus, I'm going to draw a line for 33. Okay, my minus, I have 14. Now I don't need to know exactly where 14 is, but I just know it's less or about halfway of 33. Okay, I know that for each plus and minus, they're going to cancel, so I'm going to put an X through this. And now I'm only interested in the difference here between 14 and 33, so I can just subtract them. So I wrote 33 minus 14. My difference is 19. So that's why I wrote it up here. Now I have to decide, is that 19 positive or negative? Well, let's look, which line is longer? The positive line's longer, so that means we have a plus 19. Okay, we have addition. So I have 7 negative plus 3 negative. So again, I can think about this in hot and cold. I have all cold, for example, so I'd go 7 minus. All right, then I'm going to add 3 more. So I'm going to do a little bit more like this. There's another plus 3, so I have a total of 10. And I have negatives, so it's minus 10. When we're adding them of the same size, sign, we can just add the numbers together and keep the sign. Okay, now I have a subtraction problem. This is where it gets more tricky. Now you can just do minus if that makes sense to you, or you're thinking about the number line, but if subtracting a number when a minus is involved, or when the first number is smaller, here's what we can do. We can change the minus to plus as long as we change the sign of the number that follows. So this was positive 17. I've made it a negative 17. Okay, because subtracting a positive is the same as adding a negative. So now I have minus 4 plus minus 17. Well, that's the same thing as what we had up here, adding two negatives. So 17 plus 4 equals 21. And it's a minus, so my answer is going to be minus 21. Okay, same down here, I've got a minus of a minus. I definitely can't think about this in my head without changing this. So I'm going to go addition. This is subtraction, so I'm going to change it to the opposite, which would be positive. Okay, now I have a minus 1 plus a positive 9. So I can draw it out. I have a minus 1, then I have plus 9. So I'm going to draw my line out to here. All right, remember, this first one's going to cancel out. So all I need to know is the difference here between 9 and 1. And that's 8. Now, is it positive or negative? Well, my positive line's longer, so that's going to be a plus 8. Okay, 6 times 14. Now, here's our rules are going to change a little bit. Okay, we are not going to get into why or the proof because we've talked about that separately in a lesson. But our rule is if you have one minus and a plus, our answer is always going to be minus. We just multiply the numbers like normal. Okay, so 6 times 14. All right, 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 84. So I know my number is 84. Now I just have to work out the sign. Well, I have a plus and a minus, so my answer is going to be minus. Okay, here I have minus 4 times minus 8. And also, when you have side by side with no operation in the middle, in between, it's always implied multiplication. Okay, 4 times 8 is 32. Now I have to work out the sign. So I have a minus times a minus. When I have two minuses, a pair of minuses, I go like this, plus, plus. It's really similar to what we did with these addition problems. We're going to change the minus to a plus, and then we have to change the one next to it, okay? So we have a minus and a minus, or I shouldn't say change the one next to it. We only change the minuses here. We have to look for them in pairs, even if they're not next to each other. Correction. Okay, so we have a plus 32. Let's look here at negative 18 divided by negative 9. Well, the rules for division are the same as multiplication, which is great because we don't like to change the rules. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. I have a negative and a negative, so every pair of negatives makes a positive. Negative times negative is a positive. So my answer is positive 2. All right, this is 49 divided by 7, or minus 49. Let's do the number first. 49 divided by 7 is 7. And I have a minus divided by a plus, so that means my answer is going to be minus because there's just one minus. All right, let's look down here. Now we're adding multiple numbers. With our addition, it is commutative, which means I can add numbers in any order because they're all plus signs. as long as it makes my math easier, I can actually move these numbers around. Okay, so I'm going to add together these positive numbers first. So 44 plus 9 is 53. So I have a plus 53, and now I have three minus numbers, so let's add them together. 12 plus 6 is 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. So I have 20, and those are all minus, right? So it's like my cold cubes, adding together all my cold cubes, I'm going to have a minus 20. So now I end up with 53 plus minus 20. I can use my technique up here if I want to, or I can just subtract it. Let's do 53 and let's do minus 20. Okay, every plus and minus up until this point is going to cancel out, and I only need to deal with the difference between them. So 53 minus 20. And that's going to be 33. Okay, my plus is bigger, right? My line sticks out more, so my answer is going to be plus 33. Okay, now we're going to multiply, and we have more than two numbers and more than two negative numbers. So let's see what we do. Let's just multiply our numbers first. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 4 is 24. 24 times 3 is going to be 72. So I know my number is 72. Now let's work out the sign of our answer. Okay, remember every pair of negatives is a positive number. So negative times negative is positive. So I can do this. Okay, now what's left is a positive number, or three positive numbers, which we all know is going to be positive, times a negative. Okay, and when we have positive times negative, it means our answer is negative. All right, our next one, again, we're adding four numbers together. So because addition is commutative, and this only works because I have an addition sign between everything. Okay, if it's subtraction, it's not the same, and we can't do this. When it's addition, even if it's an addition of minus numbers, right, I can add together all of my minuses. So 12 plus 8, and I should say this minus 8 here, that's kind of like, you could say it's minus a positive 8, but that would also be the same as adding a negative 8, okay, which is why I'm treating it like that. So 8 and 12 is 20. 20 plus 5 is 25. So I've got minus 25, and then I have a plus 20. Okay, so let's draw it out. 25 plus 20. Up until here, they're going to cancel. What's left over? 5. And the minus is bigger, so we're going to have a minus 5 here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Find the greatest common factor. Now, if you know your times tables really well, your multiplication facts, you could be able to identify that 12 is our greatest common factor right away, because 12 can go into 48 4 times. So our greatest common factor is the biggest number that goes into 12 and goes into 48 without a remainder. If you don't remember that, let's work it out. Okay, we're going to use a factor tree. 12 is 2 times 6 or 4 times 3. It does not matter which one you choose. You'll get the same result. 6 is 2 times 3. Now our goal here is to get all prime numbers at the bottom. Every time I get a prime number, I'm going to go ahead and circle it. Okay, I've got 48 is 6 and 8. 6 is 2 and 3. Those are prime. 8 is 2 and 4. And 4 is 2 and 2. Okay, so I'm going to write it out like this. 12 equals 2 times 2 times 3. 48 equals 2 times, how many twos? I have 4 twos. 2, 2, 2, and then a 3. Okay, my GCF, or my greatest common factor, I'm going to look to multiply everything they have in common. So they both have a 2, so I write a 2 here. They both have another 2, so I'm going to multiply by another 2. This one has a 2, this one doesn't have any more, so we're going to cross those off. Now they both have a 3, okay, so times 3. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12. All right, so that gives us our greatest common factor of 12. All right, this next question is PEMDAS, order of operation. So we always look for parentheses first. There's no parentheses. The next is exponents. So right here, I've got 4 squared. So I'm going to rewrite this. 4 squared means 4 times 4, which is 16, minus 10 divided by 2. All right, no more exponents. I'm going to go to M and D, which is multiplication and division. Now these can be done at the same time. We're just going left to right, whichever one comes first. Okay, so first I have 3 times 16, which will be 30, 48. Okay, I have a minus. I'm not doing that yet because I still have division. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Now I bring down that minus sign. 48 minus 5 equals 43. Okay, the order is really important because if I had subtracted that 10 first, that would give me 38 divided by 2. That would have given me 19, which is different from my answer of 43.